look at a few problems off of your review for your Algebra 2 test. We're going to look at number 3 and number 4 specifically. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a standard form polynomial and being able to factor it. So we talked about this. In order to be able to factor it, we have to find possible zeros. And when we find our possible zeros, we're always starting with P and Q, and we're looking at the factor. So we're going to start with plus minus P over Q. 1, 2, and 4, and it doesn't matter if it's negative or it's positive because we're using both of them. And those are going to be over 1, which means my possible zeros are 1, 2, and 4. So that's where we start by finding possible zeros. Once we find a possible zero, we want to take one of these zeros and we want to plug it in everywhere we have x. So like for instance, let's take 1 and I would plug it in everywhere I have an x and see what we get. And when you do that, you will get an answer of 0. So I plug that in, I get an answer of 0. Let's not forget that this is squared. So plug that in, I get a 0. So now what I do is I take 1 and I'm going to use it for synthetic division. So we found that equals 0. So that means we put a 1 on the outside. So that's negative 1, 4, 1, and negative 4. And now we complete our synthetic division. So you bring it down, multiply 1 times negative 1 is negative 1, add, multiply, all the way through. And that's what should happen because we got an answer of 0. Now, since this started at 3, this answer down here will start at 2. Now, the problem that we see is this negative. We don't want to have a negative out front. So anytime you have a negative out front, we're going to factor it outside, which means all the signs inside change. So very important to note that if you have a negative out front, make sure that you factor it out. Now we're going to look at what multiplies to give me negative 4 that's going to add to give me negative 3. So we'll do our normal factoring techniques. Don't forget your negative out front. So when you do that, you're going to get negative 4 and positive 1. So there's 2 of our factors. And please do not forget to continually put that negative out front when we factor. Now our other factor comes from our 0. So just remember to change the sign, and we have our 3 factors. Now this is what we're used to graphing. So that's why we have to do all that other work, because we're not used to graphing standard form. We have to get it in factored form. So now we know my zeros are 4, negative 1, and positive 1. And we get those from our factors and by changing the signs. Alright, so now what we want to look at is we want to look at the multiplicity. So the multiplicities just basically how many of each factor do I have. Now it doesn't say, but they're understood that they all have a multiplicity of 1, which is going to tell me to go through or go across each one of those zeros. Alright, so now what we can do is we can get our degree because we have our multiplicity. So we add 1 plus 1 plus 1. So that's a degree of 3, which is an odd number. Now our lead coefficient, we have a negative out front. So our lead coefficient is negative. So your ends, based on your end behavior chart, the left one will be up and the right one will be down. Now to find your y-intercept, you can do 2 things. You can take 0 and plug it in everywhere there's an x and type into your calculator, or we can look to our last number and standard form and know that our y-intercept is going to be at negative 4. Alright, so if we graph this now, so get your coordinates, your x and y axis ready. Alright, so we're going to get our zeros first. So our zeros are at negative 1, 1, 4, and we're going to cross at negative 4. Our left arm is up, our right arm is down. So we start, cross, cross, and cross. And there is our graph for number 3. Main thing here on number 3 is that this negative out front has to be factored out. All right, the next problem we're going to look at is number 4. So we're going to do it the exact same way. We start with P and Q. So plus or minus P over Q is really the same as the last problem because they're the same number. So our possible zeros plus and minus 1, 2, and 4. So same concept as before. I pick a number, I plug it in everywhere I have an X, and that's what I use for synthetic division. So we are going to use 2. Alright, so we're going to use 2. So do your synthetic division with 2. Bring down 1. So 1 times 2 is 2. 0, 0, negative 3. That makes negative 6, negative 2, negative 4, and 0. Okay? So what you have is you have x cubed because we started at 4. We don't have any x squared, so we can leave that blank. Okay, so you don't have to do anything there. So we skip this and we move to 3x minus 2. Now, since this is a 3, we can't factor. We can only factor it if it's a 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to do synthetic division one more time. So we can really just use these numbers we got here. So 1, 0, since there's no x squared. Don't forget that if you're missing something, you got to put a 0 in. And we're going to use 2 again because we know multiple zeros can work, and in this case I'm telling you multiple zeros are working. Oh, gotta be able to add correctly. So 0 plus 2 is 2, and you get here. So what we've done is we've taken our first one up here, we've taken 1, 2. We got these answers, 1, 0, negative 3, negative 2. We did synthetic division again simply because we have to get it down to being squared. So we bring down 1, 2 times 1 is 2, 0 plus 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4. Bring your 4 down, negative 3 plus 4 gives us a 1. And 2 times 1 is 2. Add that together, you get negative 2. So now what we have is we have x squared plus 2x plus 1. And if you factor this, you get x plus 1 and x plus 1. Now, since there are 2 of them, we will write that as x plus 1 squared. Now, this is going to be x minus 2, and this is going to be x minus 2 when we get our factor. So there's 2 of them, so that will be x minus 2 squared. Alright, so our degree is going to be 2 plus 2, which is 4. That's an even number. There's no negative out front, so we have a positive lead coefficient, which means both ends are going to face up. Our zeros are negative 1 with a multiplicity of 2 and 2 with a multiplicity of 2, which tells me both zeros are going to bump. And if we look at our last term for our y-intercept, it is 4. So when we graph this, 1, 2, negative 1, negative 2, 4, our zeros are negative 1 and 2, and we're going to cross the y-intercept. Both of our ends are up. So it comes down to negative 1, it bumps it, crosses at 4, comes down to 2, and bumps it, and there's our graph. So there are number 3 and number 4. On your review, you can follow the same process to get the rest of the review finished up, and go through this, rewind it, pause it, make sure you're doing it correctly, and make sure you're going through and doing the same process for each problem.